Today on What It's Like, 1930, Franklin, Victoria, Brougham. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. This channel, we feature the classics, vintage, some exotics. This channel is home of the orphan cars. The orphan cars take front and center stage on this channel and take a back seat to no one. We dive in deep with specs, period correct ads, and most importantly, show what these cars are like. If that sounds like a channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Franklin Automobile Company was founded in 1902. Franklins are known for two things, being lightweight and air-cooled engines. All right, some fun facts and or trivia about Franklin before we get into the meat and potatoes. Franklin was the first car to offer a 6-cylinder engine in 1905. Automatic spark advance followed in 1907. L.L. Whitman drove a Franklin from New York City to San Francisco cross-country run in 1906. Most people refer to this cross-country run as like the cannonball. He was like one of the first cannonballers. Anyway, in 1906, it took him 15 days, 2 hours, and 15 minutes. Yes, that's a long time, but you have to remember the roads were probably dirt roads. There was no interstate system. In contrast, Aspinwall did it by horseback, according to Google, in 178 days. So 15 days doesn't sound all that bad. Half a month versus half a year. Franklin built high-end cars and was right up there with Cadillac, Lincoln, and Packard. Franklin's always had this interesting design, and the reason they were designed like this is because they were air-cooled and didn't use a radiator. 1925, Franklin's got redesigned with a more conventional style and a fake radiator shell that served as an air intake called the hood front. By the early 30s, Franklin was already starting to see the writing on the wall. The Great Depression really affected a lot of different companies, not just automotive companies. All different aspects of life was affected by the Great Depression. And not to go under, they figured they would try one Hail Mary. They built in 1932 a supercharged V12 that was air-cooled. It was totally cool. And a shout out to the Gilmore Auto Museum. If you're ever in the area, it's totally worth it. They have a whole building dedicated to Franklin's, and they have a couple V12 supercharged cars there, as well as some engines that if you wanted to look at these things up close and personal, I was in total awe when I saw this in person. And I honestly thought that I was seeing something or made it up, but it is real. It's a real car that definitely existed. Unfortunately, the V12 wasn't enough to turn the company around and went bankrupt in 1934. It was yet another casualty of the Great Depression, but it's important to note that the car company went out of business. Franklin would live on as Air-Cooled Motors in Syracuse. They would build air-cooled engines for commercial aircraft. After World War II, Preston Tucker would buy the company and use the motors in his short-lived Tucker car. The company was sold after Tucker was disbanded. The Air-Cooled Motor Company would build engines under Franklin name until 1975. Getting back to the 1930 Franklin, Franklin was offered in two series in 1930. The 145, which rode a wheelbase of 125 inches, and the 147, which rode a longer 132-inch wheelbase. It's important to note that the 1930 Franklin uses the same engine, they just offered different bodies. The 145 series could be had as a Pursuit, convertible coupe, deluxe sedan, town sedan, coupe, and Victoria Brougham. The car we're featuring today is a Victoria Brougham, brought to you courtesy of Classic Auto Mall, located in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. This car is currently for sale, along with 912 other cars in their inventory. For more information, pricing, and pictures pertaining to this very car, be sure to click the link below after the show. 1930s, style-wise, is basically a carryover design that started back in 1925. The only major difference to the exterior that I can see is the radiator or fake radiator grille shell is slightly different every year going up to 1930. Don't get me wrong, there are some other changes like the spokes on the wheels, the lights are different, the hood is a different shape, they added vents to the side of the hood, but they're all like very minimal changes. The major change happened when they redesigned the car for the 1925 model year. So starting with the 1924 on top, 1930 on the bottom, starting in the front. Side note, I wasn't able to find the same body designs. Ignore the fourth door on the 24. I personally love the 24 because it's totally different than anything else available in this country anyway. The grill kind of reminds me of a Bugatti grill. Do you kind of get the same vibes? I totally do. The 30 Franklin looks like just about everything else available at this point in time, but that's exactly what the buying public wanted. The headlights are at least twice the size on the 30, bigger external visor on the 24, the windshield is smaller on the 30, bumpers sit lower, marker lights on the fenders as opposed to no marker lights on the fenders on the 24, and the running boards are wider on the 30. Based on the external comparison, which one do you like better in the comment section below? Moving on to specs, but before we do, huge thank you to a viewer, Mark Chandler, for giving me a lot of these pictures and advertisements pertaining to Franklin. Also want to thank the Franklin Automotive Enthusiast Facebook group. If you have a Franklin and you have questions, they can definitely help you out with that. Super knowledgeable people in that group. So all of that information will be linked in the description below. All right, let's talk specs. 187 inches long. It rides a wheelbase of 125 inches. It weighs 3,930 pounds. Price, $2,695, which is equivalent to you spending $48,548.73 in the year 2023. That is almost the same money that a 2023 brand new Lexus RC could be had for. Franklin produced 6,043 units in 1930, which was very down from the previous year. The previous year, 1929, they produced 14,432 units. Only one engine on offer for 1930, 274.2 cubic inch displacement in line 6, 4.4 liters. It produces 95 horsepower, 3,100 RPM. Torque, could not find a torque figure. Bore, 3.5 inches, stroke of 4.75 inches. Compression, 5.3 to 1. It features 7 main bearings. Cylinders are cast individually of nickel iron. Aluminum pistons. The crankcase is made of aluminum. The pan is steel, but most of the engine components are aluminum. Let's talk styling. Look at how absolutely massive these headlights are. Like, just look at that. Like, they're 2 of my hand widths. They're absolutely huge. And then there's this nice chrome bar and or stainless that connects the two. How far this bumper sticks out. Leaf spring front suspension. Look at how this fender is designed. Look at all of the lines and how this points up just a wee bit as it comes to the marker light. And it continues down the fender and it stops about right there. Look at all of these vents, and look, they're not stacked one on top of one another. They're staggered. Gives it almost like it's moving kind of look. These lines here, and notice they're pinstriped in there, which really sets it off. And the pinstriping doesn't just end there, it keeps going. Cowl, notice there's a bit of a center line there that goes up to the hinges. This one has a little bit of a sun visor, so the windshield wipers are tucked up underneath there. Look at how these door handles are designed. They're dished just a wee bit. Look at how the body overhangs the running boards. This car only has a single brake light right here. Gas tank is right here, and the filler is on the passenger side. This is the trunk. Might as well get in it real quick. And the trunk can be removable from the car. That's what it looks like. It's just a box, but this feels like a rubberized, almost like a rubber mat, almost like how the cars, almost like the top material. It's the same exact material that's outlining this box, as well as the spare tire cover. I love all of these lines, plus there's drip rails. This car has drip rails, all of the pinstriping and texturized lines. Getting inside, notice the door opens 90 degrees, allowing lots of access into this vehicle. Look at how this is framed out. There's my fingers for reference. Pretty thick frame. This is the door handle to pull the door shut. Window crank for the big window. Operates like that. This is the door handle to get out. Coming down inside, the pedal box. Handbrake, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Notice the steering wheel shaft goes between them. Take a look at this interior. That's what the door sounds like shutting. Here's what over the hood impression looks like. Here's what first person over the hood impression looks like. Here is what the steering wheel situation looks like. I got enough room to put my hand in between my lap and the steering wheel. This is what I look like behind the wheel. I got tons of headroom. These seats are really comfortable. I don't know how to really describe it. It feels like mohair, but they're springy. It's almost like sitting on a leather chair, but not leather. It's very plushy feeling, not quite velour. I don't know what to really describe it like. You know, there's no lumbar support at all, but it's comfortable. On to the button switches and knobs, starting in the center. Speedometer, notice it spins much like a Model A or an Edsel. Odometer, tripometer, clock. Switch is for the headlights and parking lights. Key, ignition, flanked by two poles on each side. The one on the right hand side is for spark advance and retard. The left is for the choke, amp meter, oil pressure, gasoline gauge, lighter. Going back to the steering wheel, on the top is for the high beams. At the bottom, that is for the hand throttle. Above, there is one sun visor. There's also one windshield wiper, which is operational from here. The windshield does crank out. So the windshield does move out. And then you just, so you get it to a certain position, and then you just push it, and look at how far that will go. You could push it up to the maximum position, which is right there, and lock it in. That's how far the windshield will open. All right, so getting out. Notice how these hinges, they're just like big, heavy-duty hinges. Getting inside the rear seat, the whole chair just lifts up. How cool is that? To get back there, I'm gonna see if I can get on the other side. Maybe it'll flip forward farther. Coming to the passenger side door, there is a nice pocket, door pocket, and it feels like it's weighted with something, so this always folds down. Getting into the rear seat, now notice that side flipped up, this side, and it flips up. Here's what the front looks like from the back. Let's take a quick gander at the greenhouse or pillar to glass ratio. Here's what visibility looks like out the back window from the rear seat. Notice curtains. There's curtains in the back and even in for the rear window. There's also a really nice recessed light, which I guess it's not really recessed. It has this bezel that goes around it. Ashtray, cigarette lighter, armrest. These windows do go down back here. There's a knob to hold on to. This is to activate the light up there. Looks to be another ashtray over here. Armrest. There's only one lighter. Alright, getting under the hood. These are the only things that hold the hood in place. And notice these ones have a nice little center hole for them to get on. The stud that sticks out. There is quite a bit of tension on them. Also check out the corners, have pieces on them so that you don't get cut. It goes right in there and that holds the hood in place. Just check out this very interesting engine. Very interesting engine. It's got a single updraft carburetor. Coming to the other side to unlatch the hood. The hood is pretty heavy. So how cool is that? It's an inline six, it's air cooled. Ever see an engine like that? On the positive side, different. When you turn up to the car show in this, I'm willing to bet that younger people under 30 won't know what it is, let alone that it's air-cooled. Air-cooled, so you don't have to worry about the coolant leaks. Very comfortable seats, curtains in the back, windshield opens, and it has the cowl vent. Different dash. Franklin Milestone brand status. Against it. Parts are hard to come by. Finding people who know these cars are getting as hard to find as the parts to fix these cars. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios today. 1930 Packard 8 or 1930 Franklin 145 or 1930 Cadillac. Going to leave this here for a second. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Moving to the second scenario. Price is no object. 1932 Packard 12 or 1932 Franklin Supercharged 12 or 1932 Pierce Arrow 12. All right, now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give me both the correct name of the band and song title. First person to do both correctly will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. You took me by surprise. I was waiting. Just like this car, that band is totally underrated. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. Honestly, that is the easiest way to get a hold of me is through Facebook. If you don't have Facebook and would like to get in touch with me, shoot me an email. All of that will be linked in the description below. Just know I appreciate all of the support. And until next time, here's some scenes for our next episode. 1967 Oldsmobile 98 Holiday Sedan. Look, a four-door. That's what's coming up next. Catch that episode tomorrow, Thursday at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. And until then, toodaloo! Hey kids, you know what time it is? It's Howdy Doody!